This story takes place in Atlanta, Georgia. The city was buzzing with progress, skyscrapers rising, and people in suits rushing to secure their fortunes. But on one unusually quiet morning, something happened at the corner of Peachtree and Monroe that no one at that downtown bank would ever forget. An old black woman stepped inside. She wore a faded brown coat, her shoes were worn out, and in her hand, a crumpled brown paper bag. At first glance, she looked like someone who might be lost, or perhaps just asking for directions. But what she said next changed everything. She was about 78. Her name, Thelma Louise Green, known by a few locals as Ms. T. A woman who grew up cleaning homes and raising children that weren't her own, until she built an empire right under everyone's nose. Bank receptionist mocking whisper. Is she lost? Security guard chuckling. Maybe she thinks we do social security checks here. Thelma walked right up to the counter. She didn't smile. She didn't flinch. She didn't explain. She just looked the receptionist dead in the eye and said, "Thelma," firmly, "I'm here to speak to your branch manager. Tell him Ms. Green would like to inspect her property." You could hear the chuckles. Not loud enough to be rude, just loud enough to be disrespectful. A few employees exchanged glances. A young banker with slick hair leaned over and said, "Young banker, she thinks she owns the place." Receptionist giggling, "Well, she definitely doesn't own a mirror." Narrator. But what they didn't know was this: Thelma Louise Green didn't just walk in that day to make a deposit. She walked in with receipts, not just in her brown bag, but in her bloodline, her legacy, and her land. Thelma was born in 1946. Her mother was a housemaid. Her father worked on the railroads. They never owned a car, never had running water until Thelma was 14. But what they did have was discipline. Every penny has a job. And every job must pay for land. Thelma saved. From babysitting. From washing laundry. From sewing. At 19, she bought her first plot of land on the west side of Atlanta for $700. By 31, she owned 6 more. Local elder. Thelma didn't talk much, but she listened. She'd sit in on real estate meetings dressed like a janitor. And when people talked too loud, they gave away all their secrets. Back in the bank lobby, the manager finally arrived, Mr. Charles Monroe. Young, Ivy League, polished. He gave her a rehearsed smile. Manager. "Good morning, ma'am. How can I help you?" Thelma calmly. "I'm here to speak about the controlling stake of this institution. I'd like to review the quarterly reports." Not rudely, but dismissively. Manager. "I think you might be confused, Ms. Green. Do you have an account here?" Thelma. "I have 12 and 27 investment certificates. And as of last quarter, I own 52% of this bank's Class B shares." She opened the brown paper bag. Inside, a binder with decades worth of stock acquisitions, signed by previous board members. Legally binding, authenticated. She was not just a customer. She was the majority shareholder. Monroe's smile disappeared. A senior advisor was called in. Then the regional director. Meanwhile, Thelma took a seat quietly in the executive lounge, sipping water like nothing had happened. Word spread. Tellers whispered. Phones rang. And then the apologies began. Senior advisor. "Mrs. Green, I sincerely apologize. We didn't recognize you." Thelma, smiling faintly. "No, you didn't see me." Most thought Thelma came to show off. To prove a point. But what she said next shocked even the executives. "Thelma, I'm not here to shut this bank down. I'm here to help it grow. I've watched what you've done with my money. Now I want to help rebuild the West End, my neighborhood. Community lending, Black-owned small business loans, first-time buyer programs for single mothers. And she would fund it herself, through her dividends. The same old woman they laughed at, had come to empower them. Thelma Green never married. She never had kids. But she mentored hundreds, teaching them how to invest, how to build, how to move in silence and strike in legacy. Former student. "She taught me that your clothes don't define your wealth. Your patience does." Years later, that same bank opened a new branch in the West End, Thelma Green Community Banking Center, funded by her. She'd passed at age 89. Peacefully. In her sleep. But not before turning her brown bag into gold. Not before making them regret every chuckle, every whisper, every assumption. Thelma, you don't need to shout your value. If it's real, the world will listen eventually. So the next time you see someone walk into a room with quiet confidence and a worn-out bag, don't judge. You might be in the presence of a giant. Inspired by the legacy of quiet builders. Never underestimate the power behind silence. If this story moved you, like, comment, and subscribe for more real-life inspired tales that inspire, empower, and uplift.